Howdy, howdy, this is Mr. K's, and this is 33.3a. 33.3a. Say that 3 times fast. We've been discussing post-World War II and the movement of communism, the spread of communism. We saw it in communist China last time in 33.2. And today we're going to be looking at the wars in Vietnam, or Korea and Vietnam. Now, Korea is a peninsula that hangs right off of the Chinese mainland. And after World War II, it was divided into North and South Korea, right at the 38th parallel. Now, you'll remember the parallel is a line of latitude. So it's a line of latitude that divides Communist North and Democratic South Korea. The line of latitude that divides Communist North and Democratic South Korea. It is artificial line, but it separated the Communist North and the Free South. It is North Korea is backed by the USSR, or backed by the USSR. North Korea invaded and overran most of South Korea. That's in 1950. Backed by the USSR, North Korea invaded and overran most of South Korea. It's at this point that the United Nations sends an international force to respond to northern aggression. Well, who did they get? Well, a hero of the Pacific in World War II, American Douglas MacArthur. Douglas MacArthur, he's the guy with the Ray-Ban sunglasses, the corncob pipe, and 5 stars on his lapel and 5 stars on his hat. He is the supreme commander of the Pacific Theater. Well, here, he's the commander of the UN force. And they couldn't have picked a better guy, because the United Nations, under his strategy, he lands at Pusan, the southern tip of South Korea, and Incheon, up the west coast of Korea, forcing the North to retreat. And I'm going to show it to you in a little bit. It's a stroke of genius. And he pushes the North back across the 38th parallel. Mission accomplished. Well, no, he continues on. The UN forces pursue into North Korea. The UN forces pursue into North Korea, and they capture the communist capital, Pyongyang. It's at this point they keep on going up into North Korea to the point where China now enters the war. China enters the war to help their little brothers, the North Koreans, and pushes the UN forces back. China enters the war and pushes the UN forces back. Now, the capital of South Korea, Seoul, has been, at this time, captured twice. Eventually, the UN forces are able to push the North Koreans and the Chinese back, and you have a ceasefire agreement 3 years after the war starts. They say that it's not a war. The Korean War was not a war. It was a police action, but you got people that die. The ceasefire agreement set near the 38th parallel, was set near the 38th parallel, right where the war began, and you have 4 million casualties. 4 million casualties over 3 years. People die, and to this day, the agreement is still standing, but I don't think there'll ever be an end to the hostilities. North Korea still wants to attack South Korea. So let me show you really quickly here in this animation. North Korea came down. How far south did they get? They got this far. They took over Seoul, South Korea. They got this far. This is the only free area left. From Japan, the United States, and other UN forces landed here at Pusan, but here's the genius part. They also landed in Incheon, and they start moving across the peninsula. North Koreans now hear that they're going to be cut off, so they retreat up through the mountains here, and they go back up north. Here's where UN forces push up, they capture Pyongyang, and they move as far north as the border of China. The Yalu River here separates North Korea from China, and the Chinese come pouring over the borders to help, and they push down back the line. but UN forces got as far as the Yalu River and here. Some went so fast that they outran their supply lines and were cut off. One battalion fought, I think, to the coast and was picked up by a rescue mission, but the war begins and ends pretty much at the 38th parallel where it is today. Well, this is Mr. Kays, and I'm out. This is 33.3A. Bye-bye.